Yep.
Ready?
Yep.
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to call to order the Special Plan Commission special meeting for tonight. If we could all stand for pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Phillips, if I could get roll call.
Please.
Mr. Burleson,
Here.
Ms. Cardona,
Come here.
Mr. Gill, I believe he's still not present. Mr. Gillette. Here. Ms. Little,
Here.
Ms. Woland,
Here.
Mr. Kennedy.
Here, we have a majority, or we have a quorum to have the meeting tonight.
Yeah, and then Craig Phillips, Town Manager, is
Oh, sorry.
present. Ken Kraus,
Here.
Adam Decker,
Here.
Paul Panzik,
Here.
and Brian Blazek.
Here.
Okay.
Very good. Next on the agenda is a public hearing. This is a recommendation from the Plan Commission on adoption of the road impact fee ordinance. Craig, is everything in order for the public hearing to proceed?
It is. I have a copy of the proof of publication here.
Okay. So just general terms, 2 weeks ago, the Plan Commission had the study, a recommendation to the Plan Commission to include that study in the comprehensive plan to create the zone within the town of St. John. That zone allows the community the option to pass then the actual fee, the dollar amount. And tonight, to create that dollar amount for the council to consider. And then, in the end, it's ultimately the town council's decision on that. We are to make a recommendation. Hopefully I got that correct, Adam. So,
Well, yes, Mr. Chairman, you did. However,
oh,
I'm going to recommend to the town council that it not vote on the ordinance this evening, but that it do so at its next regular meeting, which I believe is scheduled for 2 weeks from tonight, if I'm not mistaken.
and you'll make that recommendation at the town council special meeting after this, correct?
I will, yes,
Okay.
I'll participate in that meeting. But we
Okay.
can proceed as a plan commission with the agenda item for the meeting tonight.
All right. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Tagi. I see that you're online. Tagi, have you been before us a couple times now? I don't know if you have any brief comments you want to make to the Plan Commission before we open it up to public hearing?
No, good evening, everybody. Nothing, Mr. Chairman, except that this is a continuation of efforts to establish a road impact fee, and by your action today, you are sending your comments or your recommendation to the town council for their consideration. I'll be happy to answer any questions that anybody from the public or the commission may have.
Okay. We might come back to you, Tagi, after the public hearing, if that's okay, unless any of the board members have questions for him now. Hearing none. At this time, I will open up the public hearing regarding the recommendation for adoption of the road impact fee ordinance plan. The Plan Commission will consider the road impact fee ordinance and have a public hearing. So I will open it up to the floor. If there's anyone in the room or if anybody online that would like to speak. I will ask again if anyone from the room or online would like to speak. I will make one final call. If anyone online or in the room would like to speak. Hearing none, seeing none. I will close the public hearing regarding the recommendation of oh, I'm sorry. before I do that, I saw no one sign in. Did we get any correspondence via,
Not for the public hearing, no.
not for the public hearing? Oh,
Under public comment, yes, but not for the public hearing.
not for the public hearing. Okay, very good. With that then, I will close the public hearing, bring it back to the board for discussion. Anyone have any questions for Tagi? Tagi, a couple questions. For my, or maybe not Tagi, so my understanding is we have this ordinance in front of us. The Impact Advisory Committee has recommended a phased fee of 70% in year one, 80% year two, 90, and then 100, 100, 100. It is the privy of the board, if I'm not mistaken. They could make, either accept this recommendation, alter it, make their own suggestions, if they want to take it to 100 all the 5 years, reduce it. That is a consideration, but again, it's only a recommendation to the town council, who at that time could make their own final decisions. And Tagi, I'll ask, what the consideration, the road impact fee committee, why do they start 70, 80, 90, and then go to 100?
Yeah, the rate, the advisory committee decided, since this was a new program for the town, primarily they were concerned that they sort of break it in gradually, and that's how they 70% rate as a starting point came about, and that was the primary concern. There were other options that they considered. As you've heard me mentioning before, this concept of this graduated rate starting at 70%, that was the consensus of all members of the committee. And the committee did spend a good couple of hours discussing different options, and this was a consensus that they decided to recommend to the town council. And it was unanimous.
Okay. And then, if you could just make sure I understand the credit correctly regarding, there is a credit option regarding this fee. So, let's use a commercial development. So a commercial development of 1,000 square feet, I believe the fee is roughly anywhere from $13,000 to $16,000 per 100,000 square feet. 1,000 square feet. It's either 13 depending on the classification. So if you have a 4,000 square feet development, that fee ranges anywhere from $52,000 to $64,000. Now that developer or an entity could then either fund some sort of infrastructure improvement that would then be donated to the town, either in design, construction. So either they pay the fee or they pay some type of infrastructure improvement. Is that correct? Then they would be credited against that road impact fee?
Yeah, the ordinance that the Plan Commission attorney has put together right now allows those types of credit for developers to claim. And that is typically from other communities that we have seen. Typically, it is negotiated with the town, and it is often to the benefit of the town, because if there is a road improvement partially in a development, that would be the town's responsibility. And if they do it, it may cost less, and that's, in most cases, that's what the negotiation is done, and communities agree. Again, you're looking at case-by-case basis, And depending on the traffic study, depending on the needs of a development, the town ordinance tries the best or the most to accommodate developers for their needs.
Okay. So it's either, the developer or entity would either pay the road impact fee, or to receive the credit, they would invest in some other infrastructure, land, donation. So it's, I mean, I understand the word credit, but it seems like they're either paying the fee or paying for other type of infrastructure. I just want to make sure I have that correct.
And
Okay,
Again, this is case by case, and the town will have to approve it.
okay. Okay. Daggy, I think I asked your opinion of the impact committee on their concern for the impact on commercial development. Can I ask your opinion? Since we will be the only community in
Yeah.
northwest Indiana that has this road, you know, sometimes it's scary being the first one through the door, and, you know, so I just want to make sure what your opinion is on the road impact fee and the impact, especially on commercial development versus, I mean, I think the home rate is $338, so, I'm just wondering what your opinion is. I haven't put you on the hot seat yet, so I'm gonna put you on
Yeah.
it tonight.
Yes. I don't think it should be my opinion. I think it is something you may want to consider as a plan commission. And that is what this study shows, is not all developments' impacts are the same. There is a difference between gas station and a medical facility. And a gas station will generate 10, 15 times more than a medical facility. So it is for you to bring in the transportation impact into your decision-making as you go through this planning process, certainly for the next 5 years. So the transportation impact, the traffic generations, the traffic impact becomes a much more visible in St. John versus other communities that don't have that option. So in some respect, as a general rule, hopefully you will try to better consider the traffic impact on commercial development. There is another factor that I'm pretty sure as you go through this, and these are based on if you call other communities that do have road impact, they are going through these processes. There is also an impact in terms of how different uses are connected, that connectivity. Do we have pedestrian connections? Do we have bicycle connections? Are they connected to the neighborhoods? And all of those are sort of play a role in reducing traffic, reducing the traffic impact. Again, it will have a benefit in terms of not only connectivity, but also quality of life. So having said that, let me answer your question.
Thank you.
The goal has not been to limit commercial growth. It is to develop smart growth and develop it smartly in a fashion that you could have growth. You could even have a higher density growth, but at the same time, perhaps bring in mixed uses. And in that way, you can reduce some of those traffic impact by generating not just a single-use development, by encouraging mixed-use development. The development could be upstairs offices, downstairs retail, and so it does have those impacts. As a general rule, when we looked at commercial development the last 10 years, and we saw, I think the average commercial development was somewhere around 21,000 square feet. And we anticipate that that same scenario, and this is pre-COVID, that same scenario under the best circumstances will continue, and we don't think 21,000 square feet of new development is going to be significantly impacted due to the road impact fee. We also try to sort of find a way to reduce those impacts. A good example of it, a shopping center could go there, and a shopping center can be looked at as a mixed-use development in totality, and that would reduce the cost to, or distribute the cost to all uses, and reduce the cost to an individual use that may have a higher traffic generation. I hope I answered your question.
No, I mean, I believe the comment I caught is that you hope it doesn't impact the 21,000 on average square feet. And I'm hoping you'll be right, so.
Yep.
All right, any other, I've monopolized all the time. Is there any comments from the other board members regarding the rate, the percentages? Again, we make a recommendation to the board. If there's a change in that recommendation for what was currently given to us by the road impact fee, we'll need to discuss that. If there's no further discussion, I will entertain a motion. Again, it's a recommendation, would be favorable, non-favorable, or I guess we could do no recommendation, but I will entertain any motion. Or we can continue to discuss.
I guess I want to make one comment. I guess I'm not sure, and, and I don't want to disrespect the committee with the percentages of 70% in 2021, 80% in 2022, and, 90 and 100. It kind of looks like St. John is, playing Marshall Fields, where, hey, there's a sale in 2021, but in 2024 there isn't going to be a 30% sale. I don't know what the reason would be if a homeowner's buying a house in 2021. He or she's getting a discount, but the person buying in 2024 is not. I don't understand why you would have that discount for 2021, but not for 2024, folks.
And I cannot speak for the road impact fee, and usually should never speak for somebody else, but from what Tagi said, I think their concern was mostly for commercial. And so, because the commercial has maybe a more substantial impact or fee associated with it, so that maybe they wanted to bring that in a little bit slower until, again, I'm speaking out of turn. But are you recommending a different than that percentage? I mean, it's open,
Yeah, I mean, my recommendation would be 100% right off the get-go. I've been, you're losing $1,100 on each house. You do that 3 times, that's a fee. That's almost one house that you lost. It's expensive to fix roads. I'm on a $11 million job right now. it's a mile long. You know, with all the improvements and infrastructure, it's not cheap. I know there's been some, we don't have the $80 million deficit like we had in the previous impact fee study, because we looked at things a little different. I know it's a lot less. But my recommendation would be 100%. $3,500 would get you about maybe 40 tons of asphalt. That's two semi-loads. That's not a whole lot
For a single family.
for a
But then,
single family, yeah.
but then you gotta look, I mean, the ordinance that shows a single family, we don't, the impact, commercial, which, you know, we've been blessed in the town of St. John to, you know, the demand for homes are very strong.
Right. Is the,
My concern is commercial development would take a hit if we,
is the demand for commercial? I mean, since I've been back on the board, I don't know if there's been one commercial presented to us. Is it kind of non-existent, or?
I mean, this year's kind of a hard barometer to use because commercial has been pretty significantly affected by COVID across the board, unlike residential as much, especially in our community. We did take a look, I'd have to ask Tagi, but we did take a look at the typical square footage over the past 10 years, and we came up with that 21,000 number, I believe, was the average, if I'm not mistaken, correct, Tagi?
Right, right.
For a commercial,
Per year.
for that of a 21,000
That's what we've been
hit.
That's what we've been experiencing.
Yeah.
The level we've been experiencing has been on an average 21,000 square foot per year, some higher, some lower. This year, like I said, I don't think it's a very good barometer because commercial has been very badly hit by.
And what would that fee be for 21,000?
What was that again, Tagi? I don't have that right. I have to
wait,
calculate that.
percentages or fee?
If you're
I'm sorry, I didn't
21,000
get-
square foot, what would the fee be for that?
It depends on the classification, like,
Yeah, it depends on the
commercial
use of
one
the
is
property,
like
but-
13,500 and commercial two is 16,000 and change
For 1,000 square feet?
for 1,000, so now you would have to times that by 21.
Okay.
That's just,
Yeah, maybe it's too big of a hit.
and
Gentlemen, 21 is a cumulative total of commercial development, so that'd be like Culver's and the gas station and Cousins and, yeah, so it's not like that was one development that walked in the door, just, and they were all different types as well, so just keep that in mind.
Right.
This is a quick question. In your experience, I think in a previous meeting, I believe it was one of the study sessions, you had indicated that you worked in developments or, in impact fees like this one before. Have you, in your experience, ever, I guess in other work that you've done, has it negatively impacted the commercial development in cities that have enacted an impact fee like this one?
What I can tell you from the communities that have had road impact fee, they all have renewed their road impact fees. And so I do not know specifics about the commercial growth in those communities and how the road impact fee has impacted them. But from the fact that they have renewed their road impact fee indicates that that was not a major concern.
Mr. Chairman?
yes, Paul, Councilman, sorry.
This is Paul. If I may, I'd like to share a couple of things. I was intimately involved in this the first go around. I was a member of the Plan Commission. I did a significant amount of study on my own, and especially concerning the question that you posed. So as Tagi said, these successful communities downstate have actually renewed and increased their fees. They're with all different mechanisms in place, like for instance, credit given It's quite possible to maintain commercial development. Second of all, I'm going to give you a contrarian view, a completely contrarian statement regarding this commercial. And I brought this view up a few years ago. Without this road impact fee, we're going to impact commercial development, because if we keep slapping up houses at 400 homes a year, in 5 years, this town will be so gridlocked because we have no money to expand our intersections or extend thoroughfares like Klein. No one's going to want to develop a grocery store or a new development here because we'll be a mess. So, that's a contrarian view that's not brought up, I think, often enough, is we need to do something now because we're reaching critical mass. And ask anyone who's been stuck at the intersection of 93rd and 41, which is a deficient intersection. We have to pay for that now out of our own pockets because we did not have this fee in place soon enough. But then there's other intersections in town that have not reached critical mass, but will in the next 5 years if we don't do something about it. And not doing something is going to deter that good commercial development. They're not going to come here if we can't get our act together. So.
I guess going back, the 4 communities that have it, they're ring communities of Indianapolis, Noblesville, Fishers, and they have a very strong, what I would consider a very strong commercial demand. I see St. John as a bedroom community, so I know we have a lot of demand for homes. I just don't see that same demand for commercial. 21,000 is a lot of square foot, but I just don't see the demand, and my concern is this will just hinder that again. And there are other mechanisms that other communities in Northwest Indiana use to pay for roads that don't have the same, what I would consider, impact on commercial development. It is a tool, Paul, I agree, it's a tool that should be available to the community to use, but I think if it would only went for homes, I'd feel a little bit more applicable, but that's not how the statute is written. It's got to be uniform across all types of development, all types of classification. So, going to 100, that's an option that could be, is considered, so.
There was a resident a couple years ago when Shops on 96 was being considered. Woman came in and named all the addresses of vacant properties, vacant commercial properties, and she listed one right after another, after another, after another. And I don't know if those been filled or not. So I don't know how much of a demand we have here. I've always said residential development comes first, then commercial. And maybe we're not there yet for residential development. But like Paul said, we gotta have our roads. We gotta have people where they're not pulling their hair out, trying to get from A to B, trying to get from their house to their store or gas station or this or that. And some of these intersections were right on the edge.
We've been on this board for a while, we hear it.
Yeah.
We hear it, so, no, I agree.
That's all I have.
Any other comments from the board? Again, I will entertain a motion. You've heard Bob's comments regarding the percentages, if that's a consideration. But at this time, I'll entertain a motion unless there needs to be further discussion.
John, this is Yolanda. Was Bob's suggestion to start get-go, that was for everybody, residential and commercial? Is that right, Bob?
Yes.
Yeah, so, yeah, whatever the rate is, Yolanda, whatever percentage, it is uniform across. So if it's 100, it's 100 for all classifications. And again, we make a recommendation, keep the percentages, change the percentages. It will go to the town council, my understanding now, in 2 weeks. They can go back, I mean, it is ultimately their decision based on what is the final percentages, but however, they have put us in this position to hear our advice, take our opinion, and make the decision, so,
Mr. Kennedy, this is Adam Decker.
yes, sir.
So I'm going to suggest that if the Plan Commission elects to make any changes to the ordinance that's been presented, and specifically with Mr. Burleson's comments regarding the net fee percentage and how that's gradually increased over time, if that's the direction of the Plan Commission, I'm going to recommend that the Plan Commission simply direct me to make those revisions, and that this matter then be essentially starting over from where we were at a couple of weeks ago, to publish and to also provide the availability of copies of the ordinance as required by state statute. So, in other words, in my opinion, if the Plan Commission wants to vote to make a favorable recommendation and certify the ordinance as written, it may do so tonight, but if it elects to go a different direction or wants to reconsider those percentages, then I think it should direct me to make those changes to the ordinance. And then I think it would be necessary to, again, have that available in the clerk treasurer's office for inspection. There would have to be notice issued. I also submit that there would also need to be another hearing held at the time of the consideration of that revised ordinance.
Duly noted. Thank you, Adam.
Now, do we want to go through all that?
Hearing what Adam said, again, we have comment from Bob. Again, we could either make the motion to, I'll entertain any motion at this time.
Mr. Decker, I have a question for you. So, when would the town council meet on this, and when would they pass this? If we passed it as is right now, when would that go to the town council, and when would they have that in front of them to make a decision on yes or no?
So, Mr. Burleson, I know that there's a special meeting of the town council scheduled following this meeting. However, I don't believe the town council can adopt the ordinance at that meeting. The statute provides that the council may take that up at its first regular meeting following certification by the Plan Commission. So I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that the next regular meeting of the town council would be 2 weeks from tonight, which I think is the regularly scheduled meeting for, I think that's December 30th. So in my opinion, if the Plan Commission certifies a favorable recommendation of the ordinance as written, my advice to the town council will be that it will then take it up 2 weeks from tonight at its regular meeting. So that's my position.
So then if the town council on the 30th decides to make it 100% fee rate right from, on 2021, right from the start, so you'd have to make public notice again and have it available in the clerk's office? Or would that be officially done at 100%?
So if, again, if I understand you correctly, Mr. Burleson, if the Plan Commission certifies the ordinance as written tonight to the town council, and the town council then at its meeting 2 weeks from tonight elects to amend the ordinance, it certainly has the prerogative to do so. I do not believe that that necessarily would require that it come back to the Plan Commission, but I would have to further, I mean, again, the statutory criteria for the adoption of a impact fee ordinance is the same as it is for a zoning ordinance, which is in the 600 section of Indiana Code. And so certainly the town council has legislative authority and prerogative to make any changes it sees fit to the final ordinance that would be adopted by the town council. And looking at the statute, while I'm taking the time to do so, I'm reading that if the legislative body amends the proposal, so let's assume that the town council elects to change those percentages. The statute says that it shall be returned to the Plan Commission for its consideration with a written statement of the reasons for the rejection or the amendment to the proposal. And again, we're talking about the impact fee ordinance. The commission would then have 45 days in which to consider that amendment and report back to the legislative body.
Adam?
Mr. Decker?
Yes.
We lost you. Or
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
we can hear you now.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I didn't, I'm,
I think the last comment I recall was 45 days for our consideration. If the.
yes. Yeah, so if the Plan Commission votes to certify the impact fee ordinance as written tonight, and it goes to the town council, and the town council then, at its meeting 2 weeks from tonight, either rejects it or amends the ordinance. So the amendment to the ordinance is to, for whatever reason, then the statute requires that it go back to the Plan Commission, and the Plan Commission with a statement of reasons for the reasons for that amendment or the rejection, and that then the Plan Commission would have 45 days in which to consider that amendment and report back to the legislative body.
All right. Bring it back to the board for the final discussion or a motion.
John, we can still discuss this, right? We don't have to actually make a motion right now?
When you say right now, are you?
I mean, are we still discussing? Because I
Oh,
just
yeah,
wanted
no,
to say that.
oh, yes, Yolanda, yes.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, I
Good.
apologize, I misunderstood. Yes, we do
thought
not
you
have to
said
make a
something.
motion now, if there's still further discussion, absolutely, yes.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I mean, I understand Bob's point in terms of making it sort of like a graduated, I'm sorry, to make it 100% right from the get-go. And I think it's a valid point. I also get Taji's point and the way that it was written in terms of it being graduated, starting at 70. I can see how that also could be more palatable. I see both points, but I honestly don't see too much of a harm in leaving it as is in terms of having it be graduated and move up gradually as the years go by.
Thank you.
I don't know if anyone else thought something different.
Anyone regarding Yolanda's comment?
This is Donna. Can you guys hear me?
We can, Donna.
Okay. Well, I don't know. My concern is with the commercial fee. Are we worried at all that this might negatively impact businesses from wanting to come to Shop Zone 96?
I guess it's always a consideration to take that view.
Donna?
Yes, Paul?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
For the Plan Commission, Shop 96 development area is specifically excluded from any new fees, including this impact fee.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Paul.
And that part of the economic development agreement that was crafted between the town and the developer. So that area will have no impact.
So Donna, to answer your question, no.
Okay.
Thank you, Paul.
But that's only Shop 96. Anywhere else in town, they're going to be, upfront 70%.
Based on their
Correct.
classification, yes.
I'm going to bring up another example to help with the commercial question that's come up quite a bit. So a good example would be the corner of 93rd and US 41. Everyone's aware of the vacant dental office, right? So that property, it's sort of had a few developments proposed on it. Nothing's happened yet. But when that property is developed, they're going to be forced to donate right-of-way to the town for 93rd. It's part of our thoroughfare plan. It's written into our ordinance that right-of-way be donated. So like in the example of that corner, they're already going to have to donate the right-of-way. That rule exists today. They would get credit for that toward the road impact fee. In fact, it would probably satisfy the road impact fee. Or, for example, they might put in a decel lane or a turn lane or a right turn right in and out that's required there. And that also could satisfy by them installing road infrastructure like most commercial developments will. They'll put in a lane or some improvement that directly credits this fee so that quite possibly they're not even going to have to pay it. So I don't think with the example of that corner, when it develops, it's probably going to get enough credit through right-of-way donations to satisfy its fee. And that same scenario might play out in a lot of areas in town. So throughout history, developers will generally install infrastructure, road infrastructure improvements as part of their development. The problem we had previous to the thought of this fee was that we really couldn't force the hand unless the traffic engineer said it was absolutely necessary. So what this does is basically puts a little bit more teeth in it. Instead of just an honor system of, hey, you build here and you're going to do this, now they really have to do it. So, a lot of this is not going to change in the future. They've generally put in development, generally donated land. Now they'll just get against this fee for it.
Thank you, Councilman.
Sure, just trying to bring up some more of what's been discovered in years of research. We've dug deep on this one. And there was very good and specific examples of these type of credits in the other towns that are using this. So there's a lot of different avenues for relief.
This is Yolanda again.
Yes, Yolanda.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, John.
No, I was just asking if there's further discussion, Yolanda.
I was just going to say this. I mean, honestly, speaking truthfully, I don't see a problem with commercial properties or commercial development not happening because of this fee. There has to be a way to leverage the cost in developing St. John, right, and developing the road. So to me, this is a way to do it. It's a legal way to do it. It's a way that other communities are doing it. Just because Cherville or Dyer aren't doing it, that doesn't mean that we shouldn't do it, right? We're pioneers, I should say. So to me, I think it's a good idea. It's a tool, and it's a way to obtain funds to be able to develop St. John the way that it's supposed to be developed. The alternative would be to do what? To have essentially probably property owners pay for the developments, and why not just assess some type of protocol to have this done? I mean, I think it's a good idea. I like it the way that it is. But I mean, I'm interested to hear other people's thoughts too.
Yolanda, those are valid points. Some other communities in northwest Indiana use what is called a wheel tax. I know no one likes the word tax, and it's for registered plates, so it's $25 per car. And I think there's other lower denominations, so like Dyer and other communities in northwest Indiana use that. And that is an eligible mechanism, a legal mechanism that people can use, and that's what has multiple communities in northwest Indiana have. And you're right, we could be pioneers, but like I said, it's sometimes scary being the first one through the door, and the other communities are all in Indianapolis market. So I'm just, not that, I try to think regionally, so what's good for Cherville is good for St. John, and what's good for St. John hopefully is good for Crown Point or, Lowell and Cedar Lake, but I just, I'm just concerned that we are creating a cost that potentially, I don't know how this is gonna play out on commercial development, but I'm just, that's, if there's other mechanisms that don't affect commercial development, that can raise funds for road, maybe that might be a wiser option, but it's always difficult when you're raising costs, so I understand it.
John, can you hear me? John?
Donna?
Yeah.
Yes, I can hear you.
I agree with you also. Cherville, the difference between us and Cherville is businesses are drawn to Cherville, and they have a booming commercial development. I don't know how many commercial developments are knocking on our door wanting to come here, and I think this is going to negatively impact their desire further.
Thank you for those comments. So again, further discussion?
This is Nancy. So I've listened to, several comments, and I've looked at this and thought about it. And I think if we want to make a recommendation to the council to do this, but to do it full bore, like, was suggested, even though it might delay going to the council, I think we need to do what we think is right. Either, do it all at once and not in a progressive state. I've listened to Paul, and it seems like a lot of this will not affect some of the businesses. He's mentioned up on 96, the dental building, and so on. So I think our consideration, I think we have a couple things. Do we want to do it? Do we want to do it progressively, or just rewrite it and take the time now, do it, full bore?
Thank you, Nancy. And that's exactly what's on the table. And again, it's only, and just for the board's understanding, it is a recommendation.
Right.
So,
and I think we all have to agree our roads in the town need a lot of serious attention.
there is no questioning that.
Right.
And that's what this council is trying to address. And I respect them for that.
Right. So, I'm on the side of doing it and doing it not possibly just going ahead and doing it all out and start getting some of these roads fixed. That's just my 2 cents.
It's worth a lot. Further discussion? Again, the floor is open for any motion. Adam, just for hypotheticals, again, if no motion is received by the chair, what happens?
So if there's no action taken at this meeting, there's therefore no certification. So it remains at the Plan Commission to either consider it at a future meeting. So the fact that, again, if it depends in part on whether there's any changes that are going to be made to the ordinance. So if there are changes that are going to be made to the ordinance as directed by the Plan Commission, then that direction needs to be, given. And I would prepare the revised ordinance. I would submit that to the Plan Commission for its review. And we would go through the process again of giving notice of a public hearing at either the regular meeting or a special meeting of the Plan Commission to consider that revised ordinance. If there's no direction to change the ordinance at this evening's meeting, and if there's really no action, then I submit that at the next regular meeting of the Plan Commission, this could be another agenda. This could be an agenda item for that meeting, and it can consider taking action at that time if it chooses to do so.
So, okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Paul, Councilman. Yes, sir.
Thank you. I to cover a few topics or a few items related to the graduating of the fee. A few reasons that it's a good idea. We have some recapture fees that are going to be falling off in a handful of years. That was one of the primary logic behind it a couple of years ago when we talked about graduated fees. So the home builders, it's phased in a little bit for them, and when the fee gets larger, they're going to have some relief from that. Okay. Secondly, under the current retail commercial office market, which I'm sure you're aware of in your business, it's pretty tough right now with COVID. It was tough already in the Amazon world. St. John and commercial development, there's a lot of issues, but I can tell you that there's a great deal of interest in commercial development in St. John, but we also have discriminating landowners that are holding their price and holding their cards. And I'll bring an example of that. Everyone likes to talk about the Kmart property. So I've had the benefit of meeting the Kmart owner a few times. And I can tell you that he's been approached many times by people with money to do something with that property, but he refuses, or they refuse, because it doesn't fit their business model. They're holding their own and waiting for the bigger fish. And that's true on multiple developments up and down US 41. So they're just waiting it out for the right time. They have, financial resources to do so, and it's a better long-term gain for them. So this fee, it's especially coupled with the credits that Tagi mentioned, that I mentioned. These folks are in a bigger game than what this fee is going to deter, and the lack of development is really just a result of them holding out at this point for price point and type of development. So the phasing in, especially like I said with the COVID happening, you're looking at a couple years of a downturn. I know that there's, I'm not going to mention specific developments in our area, but there are developments under pressure, not in St. John, some in some very successful commercial corridors are under a lot of pressure right now due to store closings and folks coming up short on their lease payments and everything. So it's going to be a tough market for a few years. So if it's phased in, that's not a bad thing, I guess. It comes in pretty strong at 70 and jumps up every year after that. So as one of 5 councilmen, I don't have a problem with the phased in strategy. I think that every year it'll possibly nudge a few people to do something maybe before it goes up again. And once it's up all the way, everyone will be adjusted to it. So that's my 2 cents again as one councilman and based on my studies with this.
Appreciate that, Councilman.
Mr. Chairman, can I also make a couple of observations from what I've heard?
Absolutely, Taggy. Any insight would be helpful.
Okay, thank you. One, I think, for the members to understand the impact fee goes into effect 6 months after it is adopted. So the 70% rate, in effect, will goes into effect sometimes in July if it is approved, and it will be for that first 6 months. And in 2022, then the rate will go up to 80%. So it is the 70% in effect, it is half a year, not the full year. I think that is, that's important to consider. And in the life of the 5 years, it is going to be higher on the average than the 70%. It looks like for the first year. It's not for the first year, it is for the first half year. I think one other comment or one other consideration for commercial development, what I mentioned, somewhere around 20,000 square feet on the average for the last 10 years, or projected next 10 years is, that includes the shops, that includes a couple other developments. So as a whole, those planned, what we call planned commercial activities, constitute somewhere around 126,000 square feet, I believe. And so when you look at this on an annual basis, you may impact, under the best scenario again, you may impact 6,000 to 7,000 square feet of commercial uses. Is that one business? Is that two business? I can't tell you, but that is the magnitude of commercial impact that this fee could see for commercial activities.
Thank you, Taggy.
Mhm.
And if I recall correctly from your report, based on your percentages, a majority of the impact, or most of the revenue will be coming from residential. If I recall, I can't remember the percentages, but I think residential was over 50% compared to the commercial.
More than 50%. I believe it was a 4.5 million projected revenues was from residential, and 1.4, I believe, was projected revenues from commercial, and that again included shops, assuming that the shops and these other planned development will go into completion.
Yeah, all right. Thank you again, Taggy.
Mhm.
Okay, we are open for discussion, and the floor is open for a motion.
I guess what Paul said that some fees are gonna be dropping off the next couple of years. So with that being said, want to make a favorable recommendation for adoption of road impact fee
At its, just for clarification, at its current,
at its current,
okay, thank you, Bob.
current fee rates.
There is a motion, is there a second?
This is Yolanda, I'll second it.
I have a second, and I just want to
Mr.
thank,
Chairman,
I'm sorry?
no, I'm sorry. Yeah, Mr. Chairman, this is Adam Becker. I heard Mr. Burleson's motion and Yolanda's second. I would suggest that the motion include just simply a reference to the fact that the effective date of the ordinance as set forth in section 14 will be June 30th, not June 16th, due to the anticipated date of the town council meeting.
Gotcha. So since they're not gonna, since the town council won't take action on it today, the 16th, but the 30th, the effective date needs to change from June 16th to June 30th. So if you would reconsider your
How is
motion,
it different than changing the number?
if you reconsider or making those changes to your motion.
Where's that say that?
The effective date. Adam, can you give us a page?
Yes, it's page 10 of the ordinance in section 14. And because, as Tagi mentioned earlier, the ordinance cannot take effect any sooner than 6 months after the date of its adoption. And for the reasons I've indicated earlier, I'm recommending that the town council take this up at its regular meeting 2 weeks from tonight. That's when it would first be considered for adoption. And so I think the motion to certify the ordinance, subject to that amendment to change the effective date to June 30th, 2021.
So if you would be so kind to amend your motion.
Okay, I want to amend the motion, favorable recommendation for adoption of road impact fee with the effective ordinance date of June 30th, 2021.
So we have an amended motion to include the effective date of June 30th, 2021. Yolanda, will you second?
I will second.
Yolanda seconds. Discussion? I would just like to commend the board for their consideration and deliberation on this. I can tell you did not take it lightly, and your thoughts were on target and on spot, and I want to thank you for that. With that, can we get a roll call?
This is on the amendment, correct? Or the
Yes.
motion as amended?
And the motion as a favorable recommendation,
As amended.
as amended.
Okay. Mr. Burleson,
Yes.
Ms. Cardona,
Yes.
Mr. Gillette,
Yes.
Ms. Little,
No.
Ms. Woland,
Yes.
and Mr. Kennedy.
No. Motion passes 6-2.
4-2.
I'm sorry, 4-2, to add up to 6.
Careful with that.
Yeah,
Just to be clear.
yeah, sorry about that, I appreciate that. Thanks for catch, it's at Catholic school math, so I apologize.
No, just add to the fee the extra.
Yeah, that's right. No new business, public comment? Anyone want to make public comment? With that,
I had the one
sorry.
submittal.
We have a submittal for public comment, and we're going to have Craig read it.
Just prior to the meeting, I received an email. I'll read into the record if you don't mind.
Yes, please.
Okay. This is received from Kevin Cole. It says, "Dear Mr. Phillips and Planning Board members, there is a safety issue on White Oak Avenue and 93rd Street intersection, which we travel a lot. Driving north on White Oak to the stop sign on 93rd, you look to the west to check on oncoming traffic to make a left left or right turn, sorry, but your sight is impaired due to a mound of dirt that Schilling Development has placed there. It is a blind spot from the mound or hill which was made too high, approximately 12 to 15 feet, on the southwest corner of the new residential project. To be able to have a clear view of traffic going eastbound on 93rd Street, is what they say, Avenue, you have to pull out partially into the intersection. Prior to the mound being made, there was no obstruction from west to east. I believe safety is in our hands. Now is the time to make the correction while the developer has the heavy equipment available. The hill needs to either be moved or lowered substantially. I hope the town will inspect the situation. There will be less accidents if there were light signals or lowering the mound for the general good of the community. Happy holidays, Kevin Cole, family and neighbors.
Okay, well, very good. I would imagine we will give that to someone within our building department and maybe refer it to Jack to make sure he could at least address it or look at it to make sure there is no line of sight issue.
Yeah, so we would look at it, we would make sure that there's no issues with the ordinances, town ordinances, with regard to that.
Okay.
So I guess you're referring it to me since I'm the acting.
You are the town manager, so if you could delegate that to somebody.
And the acting planning director, so.
Yeah, that's right.
I will look into that, but I wanted to make sure that was read into the record because it was received for the plan commission.
I appreciate that. To the board members, Ken, the councilmen that are here, we want to thank you. I want to thank you personally for the dedication you put in this year to the plan commission. We make tough decisions. The council looks to us to make those tough decisions, and hopefully we give them what we believe is the best direction for the town of St. John. So, and also for me to you, have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and please be safe.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I just have one question. And that
Yes,
would be
sir.
for Mr. Decker.
Oh, Mr. Decker, can you hear?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so since the town council is not going to take any action tonight, then I should just cancel the meeting since that's the only agenda item? Does that make sense?
You may certainly do that. There's no requirement for you to hold the meeting this evening if that's the only agenda item.
Okay, then we will cancel that meeting. Thank you.
Okay. Very good. With that, anyone else have any comments? If not, we will adjourn. If I can get a motion? Give me a motion. Motion to